Hi, my name is Laura Albert, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank the Rilda Beilgard Scholarship Fund for allowing me to go on the Wilderness Ministry Professionals course. I was really thankful to be able to go on this course. I've been working in the outdoor industry for about 15 years now, and so it was really impactful for me to go on a course and actually not be the instructor, but to do a lot of learning and gain a lot of additional skills and practical skills. And personally, I learned a lot myself as well. So I chose to go on the Wilderness Ministry Professional course because it was going to allow me to grow as a wilderness leader, and it would allow me to just bring some new things to my role here at Solid Rock Outdoor Ministry. I am full-time here at SRAM, and it was really fantastic to be able to just grow in different leadership aspects. Most of my leadership development has been in the outdoor industry, in the secular world. And so to have this opportunity to really learn and grow in a Christian environment on a Christian course was just incredible in so many different ways. And I think like the biggest learning point for me personally was just about how my leadership is mine and I'm uniquely created in my leadership styles. And what I mean by that is a lot of, over the years, I've learned to pick up different leadership styles from other leaders. And one of the things that God really revealed to me on this trip was that He uniquely made me, and He uniquely made me as a leader for the kingdom. And so He really started developing that in me earlier, before I went on this trip, but it really came to a head on this course. And so that was probably one of my biggest learning moments, my biggest aha moment, if you will. So one of the ways I really grew as a leader was, again, to really learn about my leadership style. And one of the things that we talked a lot about is not just, trying new things, but also failing. So it's, as a leader, sometimes you're trying new things, and it's okay to not always be successful at them, to kind of fail forward into Jesus, as that were. And I think that's really countercultural in a lot of ways, because our culture is very much about performance, and it's like you have to get it right the first time. And I think the best part about this course is having that space to really try something different without fear or condemnation or shame of it. Like, we tried this, okay, that really didn't go well. So how can we learn from that, and how can we improve? So I think that was my biggest learning point as a leader, that it is okay to fail. And I mean, when it's small, obviously, if it's small things, but even as a leader, you are going to try things and it's not going to work out the way that you want. And that's okay to learn and grow from that. And I think that that's true as a disciple of Christ, is that we're not always going to get it right on the first try, that there's grace in that process of learning. And that is part of the reason why we're so fortunate to have Jesus, is that within our weaknesses, He is stronger, and He is made stronger because we are surrendering to Him in those weaknesses. And we're allowing ourselves to be molded by Him within those circumstances too. So I would say that that was really my biggest learning point, and how I grew as a disciple of Christ. I think the most impactful part of my course was, I would say, the community. And not that the community itself that I have here at home in Laramie is not impactful in so many amazing ways, but it's different when you're hiking and you're cooking and you're doing life together. And I think it was within that community that I got to really be my most authentic self. And without fear, without really feeling like I had to kind of have a specific spot where I could only talk about this or only talk about that. There was just freedom in the atmosphere to have conversations about anything and everything, about struggles, about real life, about things you wanted to try, about how hot it was. Like there was just a lot of freedom within the community that is developed on a SROM course. And within that freedom and the permission to be your most authentic self and all the good, bad, and ugly that sometimes comes out of us, that freedom is just so impactful in so many different ways. You can be vulnerable and you can share things that maybe you haven't had an opportunity to share with people in your community or with only a select few. So I would say for me, the most impactful part of my course was that building and that authentic community and that bond that my group and I had while we were out on this course. So one moment that I just felt really close to God was it's wrapped around a specific plant called the Sacred Datura. And before I went on this course, I actually came together with a couple of women in my community and asked them to pray with me, just because I had a lot of things kind of stirring in my heart that it was just really strong emotionally, and I wasn't entirely sure how to process it. So I was asking people to come around me specifically in these circumstances. And one of the things that God showed me before I went on this course, so just, a few days before we went on trail, was this plant called the Sacred Datura. It's a big kind of morning glory looking white flower, and it grows in the desert Southwest. And the word that I got from the Lord about this plant was that I am like this Sacred Datura, but I'm not. My flower isn't fully opened as a leader. I wasn't fully coming into my own as a leader, and that the promise that He gave me was that would happen on this course, and that there would be a lot of fruit from what I learned and what He was going to reveal to me. So that's exciting, right? God gives you a promise before you go on this really great adventure. So we were several days in hiking, and we were having a silent hike. And I was talking to the Lord, and I said, Lord, you showed me this great promise before I came out here, and I have yet to see a Sacred Datura plant. And not literally, maybe minutes later, we walk right by, and there's this big Sacred Datura plant. It's got many blossoms on it, but all of them are not fully opened. And I was really excited to share that with my group. But again, we were silent hiking. But that was one of those moments where I really felt close to God, because He and I were like having this conversation, and He had given me this promise, and I had asked Him about it. And literally He was like, well, let me show you. And it was right there that I had the promise. And then as the course went on, this was maybe on day 5 of 14, as the course went on, there were Sacred Datura plants all along our route. And all of them they went from literally that first one, which was not fully opened, to in full bloom. And it was just such an incredible moment for me because of the promise that God had given me beforehand. And then also, like I said, with all of the leadership and heart development that I had on this course, that seeing that promise actually come to fulfillment while I was out there. So that is probably one of the most special moments that I've had in the wilderness with the Lord. So my I am statement really started to come to fruition on my solo. And so one of the things that the Lord really revealed to me during my solo time was this spot in Isaiah. And so He had me read Isaiah chapter 44, verse 21. And it says, "Remember these things, Jacob, for you, Israel, are my servant. I have made you. You are my servant, Israel, and I will not forget you. But now, and then it says at the beginning of the chapter, but now listen, Jacob, my servant, whom I have chosen. This is what the Lord says. He who made you, who formed you in the womb, and who will help you. Do not be afraid, Jacob, my servant Jeshurun, who I have chosen. I will pour out water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour out my spirit on your offspring and my blessing on your descendants, and they will spring up like grass in a meadow and like poplar trees by flowing streams. That second part was Isaiah 44, verse 1 through 8. And so what God asked me to do was every time that the name Jacob was in here, is the Lord asked me to put my name in there. And so he wanted me to hear what he was saying to me. And he said, now listen, Laura, my servant, whom I have chosen. And so really what the Lord was revealing to me was that I've been chosen from the very beginning to be a leader, to be a warrior for the kingdom, and to serve him mightily, and to bring his love, his joy, and his essence essentially to a lost and dying world. And so that is really what my I am statement wraps around, is I am effective and I am called. I am worthy to be a part of God's bigger plan, and I have a specific plan and purpose on my life. I am worthy to be named a leader in Christ's kingdom. And so how I plan to implement that into my daily life back in the front country really has a lot to do with the fact that God specifically called me to SRAM and to bringing people closer to him in wilderness. Because I personally, both on this trip and earlier in my life, have experienced the Lord in creation and in his creation. And it is part of what motivates me. It is a huge part of my heart in just pursuing Jesus and just inviting other people into that same kind of a love relationship. And the wilderness brings a lot of hardship in a lot of ways and tests us in a lot of ways. But there's also just incredible joy and in incredible moments of quiet and revelation of yourself and about God and who he is and his character. And so that is how I plan to use my I am statement in my everyday life, is just to be walking that out and living day to day for his glory and to bring glory to him and bring the kingdom to here on earth. My top 3 upgrades would be, for one, just my understanding who I am as a leader. And that part of my identity, I had never integrated well with my identity in Christ. Like, I knew who I was as a daughter of the Most High King, but I had never integrated that with who I am as a leader in God's kingdom and for God's kingdom, as a person who is going to go and make disciples, who is called by the Great Commission. And so that is one of my really top upgrades, to integrate my identity as a leader with my identity as a daughter of the King, and then understanding better like what drives me and motivates me as and how God created me, and understanding that more on a deeper level has also really helped me to just kind of foster my leadership style, my own unique leadership style that God created me to have, and to be able to use that effectively and not attempt to listen to all of those other ideas and concepts of what makes a great leader. And that I am a great leader just by the way that God created me. And so how I plan to really steward that is to continue to walk in that truth of who I am as a leader in God's kingdom, but also to surround myself with people who can also just give me really good feedback And having that culture of feedback, like, hey, how's this working? Is this not working? And do you see me in me doing this? And really trying to shift my lens more about who I am as that leader. Because when you've had 30 plus years of doing it the wrong way, sometimes it's a little bit like running and falling when you're trying to do it the right way, the way that you were created to do. So those are two ways that I am planning to really steward that gift that God gave me to foster that leadership style that he really revealed to me on this course. Again, I just really want to thank you all for your just generous donation to allow me to financially be able to go on this course. And I thank you so much for not just impacting my life, but impacting so many other students here at SRAM. I know that I am forever changed because of the opportunity to go on this course. And I have not returned the same woman as left. So I'm really, really thankful for the ability to be able to go on this course. And I just thank you so much for your prayers and your support. And I just want to say God bless and thank you.